It's week 1 of the 2025 fantasy football season, so it's time once again for your reminder that kickers are people too. I'll be ranking all 32 NFL starting kickers on a tier list for week 1. Let's hop right on into it. Okay, first up, our most coveted tier, our stardom every week. We're going to start small this year for week 1, just 4 guys. Doesn't really matter the matchup, plug and play. We're going to have to do some tinkering as the season goes on. But Kaimi Fairbairn of the Houston Texans, Chase McLaughlin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs, and Jake Bates of the Detroit Lions are my must start them every week as of right now for the 2025 season. Okay, we're going to start off easy with a couple ones. We got Szmyt here, Szmyt for the Cleveland Browns. I'm not starting a Cleveland Browns kicker, let alone a guy who's kicking in the league for the first time. Easy bench here, as well as Joey Slye of the Tennessee Titans. Now, didn't really have a great year last year in New England. Not looking too forward to him. We got to see what this Cam Ward offense is going to plug into this year. And how about Shrader for the Colts? Do not play anybody on the Colts offense. I don't trust Danny Dimes whatsoever. I mean, we're going to have to really see something before I'm willing to take a risk here early in the season on these kind of kickers. So easy start for these 3, just bench these guys. Okay, now we got Santos of the Chicago Bears taking on the Minnesota Vikings at home on Monday night. And I think this is a fine start. Santos is a very reliable kicker, but a little bit of concerns. What are we going to see out of Caleb Williams and this Ben Johnson offense in week 1 at home? Outdoors in Chicago against a very good Brian Flores defense. This could be a low-scoring game, so there is some potential for Santos here, and he is super reliable to kick the field goals. But is Ben Johnson going to carry over what we saw in Detroit and kind of pass on field goals and go for it on 4th down? So Santos, a fine start, could have a high upside as the season progresses. But for right now, I'm just okay with starting him. Okay, Chad Ryland of the Arizona Cardinals. He was kind of money for us some weeks last year, had a pretty decent season. Now, I'm not super optimistic on the Cardinals for the year, but I love this matchup week 1. Taking on the Saints in New Orleans should be a lot of points scored. This is a very bad New Orleans Saints team, and they're kicking indoors in a dome. Gotta love that as well. So Chad Ryland, great matchup this week. If you want to play him, I am totally fine with that. In fact, I encourage it. Okay, the legend himself, Will the Thrill Reichard of my Minnesota Vikings, taking on the Bears, like I said, Monday night. I think he's another fine start. Reichard was super reliable to start the season, really had a strong overall year, kind of dwindled a little bit after sustaining the injury last year, but we don't know necessarily what we're going to get out of this Vikings offense. We have all the weapons in the world, but new starting quarterback JJ McCarthy leaves a lot of question marks as well on the road against a good Bears defense. So the Vikings might struggle to move the football here, but long-term for the season, I do think Reichard has potential, especially if the offense is good, not great. That means they're going to be settling for a lot more field goals. So Reichard, high upside again for the season, but kind of a tough matchup week 1 here, but I'm okay with starting him if you have to. Okay, Jason Myers of the Seattle Seahawks, getting a little bit up there in age, the old wily vet at this point, and was kind of okay last year. Again, new offense basically in Seattle, bringing in quarterback Sam Darnold, taking on the San Francisco 49ers, kind of a lot of question marks on defense for you. I'm going to put Myers in the fine start this week. I think that the Seahawks are going to be able to move the football, but there could be some struggles, and that will result in a lot of field goal attempts. So I think there is some high field goal upside here, maybe a low ceiling ultimately, but a pretty safe floor. The Seahawks are going to score points at home, and I don't know how good this 49ers defense is going to be. They have Robert Saleh back, but there's not necessarily as much talent as we've seen in the past. So Myers, a fine start here for week 1. Staying right in this game, Jake Moody. He was pretty all over the place, the last 2 seasons. Good start up and down, and the 49ers offense as a whole was kind of a big question mark. I'm going to put the Moody in the if you have to this week. If you got Jake Moody, you didn't go on a kicker, you're not willing to move on it, because I do like the 49ers this year. I think they're going to be a good football team. But offensively, they're just kind of banged up, and this Seahawks defense, I think, is going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL this season. So might be a low-scoring game, may not have a ton of opportunities in week 1. So if you have to, you can play them, but not necessarily at the top of my list. Okay, Evan Money McPherson, my guy from the Cincinnati Bengals, missed a good chunk, pretty much all of last season with an injury, but when he played early, he struggled a good bit. Very inconsistent for us in Cincinnati, and Joe Burrow is going to drive him crazy. But McPherson was one of the best kickers in the NFL, and they got a great matchup in week 1. They're taking on the Cleveland Browns. Not a good offense by any stretch of the imagination, but their defense is pretty solid, so they might have to settle for some field goals. And with the Browns offense being as bad as it is, they're not going to be ultra aggressive on the 4th down attempts. I don't think Cincinnati, they're just going to take their points on the road in the division. So I love this matchup. I trust Evan McPherson to get back to that quality that we saw a few seasons ago. And I got so much faith in the Bengals offense and Evan McPherson. I'm heading straight on over to Underdog, taking Evan McPherson over 2.5 extra points against the Cleveland Browns. And if you guys are new to Underdog, make sure you sign up using the link down below. Promo code THECATCH. You're going to get a free pick 'em for week 1. Take that pick 'em and take Evan McPherson to make 2.5 extra points. And if both hit, you're going to automatically double your cash entry. And on top of that, Underdog is giving all new users who deposit with promo code THECATCH a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. And as soon as you play $5 on Underdog, they're automatically going to give you an additional $50 to use on Underdog towards week 1. Again, new users, sign up using promo code THECATCH, and let's bring home that dub in week 1. Okay, Brandon McManus of the Green Bay Packers kind of figured out the kicking issues we've seen in Green Bay the last few years, taking on the Detroit Lions at home. All the big news, you trade for Micah Parsons, but there are still some question marks here. Jordan Love has surgery on his off-throwing hand. The offense kind of looked a little stale here, and the Lions defense is healthy finally. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I'm going to find if you got to start him. McManus has been really reliable. He is a little getting up there in age as far as kickers are concerned, but he's a reliable guy. The Packers will move the football a decent amount in this game. I think there will be opportunities for him to kick some field goals, and plus if they get a couple touchdowns on the board. So maybe not a super high ceiling, but I like him as a very safe floor play this week and for the season moving forward. I think the Packers are going to be very happy to just take points now with their defense seeming to get fixed overnight all of a sudden. So Brandon McManus, a fine to start in week 1. Okay, new kicker Tyler Loop of the Baltimore Ravens replacing the legend Justin Tucker. Baltimore at Buffalo week 1, not an ideal place to kick Sunday Night Football. Not the greatest, place to start. I'm going to put Loop in the if you have to category. I wouldn't love playing rookies. I don't love playing rookies early. Did miss a kick in the preseason for the Ravens, and I just think this is going to be a back and forth high scoring game. I think both teams are going to be ultra aggressive on 4th down. They know this is the class of the AFC, and they're going to have to score touchdowns and not field goals. So in week 1, I'm going to put Loop on the if they have to category, but I think for the season, he's got a pretty decent floor because the Baltimore Ravens are a very good football team and they're going to score a lot of points. I just think this week they're going to have to score 7s and not 3s. Okay, Will Lutz of the Denver Broncos, a Sean Payton staple over there at home against the Tennessee Titans. And this Titans defense was kind of weird last year. Kind of good against teams and fantasy-wise, did give up some scores, but again, they were facing some short fields. But this Denver defense is excellent. We got a rookie quarterback in Cam Ward making his first NFL start. I think Lutz is a fine start here. I still have some questions about this Broncos offense. I want to see it to believe it, but I do think there'll be a lot of opportunities for Lutz. Now, I don't know how aggressive Sean Payton's going to be week 1, but there could be a couple of short fields here for this Broncos offense. And if they do struggle a little bit against a kind of interesting Titans defense, we could see some field goal opportunities. So I think there's a high upside to Lutz, but we could also be in a kind of a weird, Broncos win 21-3 and you get 3 points from your kickers. So Will Lutz, a fine start, but there is some risk to him, but there's also some decent upside. Okay, Cam Little, the talk of the town in the preseason, a 70-yard field goal plus a 56-yarder as well. My man was lighting up the preseason, still very young, new into the league. And they have a great matchup. They're taking on the Carolina Panthers at home in Jacksonville. This is one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And I do think the Jags offense is going to have a little bit of juice to them, but there still is a question mark with Trevor Lawrence at the quarterback position, and the offense as a whole may not be super crisp in week one. So we could be looking at some drives that stall out in the red zone where the timing and stuff is just off. So I love Cam Little right now, especially now that we know it's tried and true and tested. My man's got range for days, so maybe we see another 60-yard attempt at the end of the half. You know, there are a lot of extra bonus points to be gotten for you with a guy like Cam Little. So kind of an average floor, a unbelievable upside, and I think it's a great matchup. Start Cam Little in week one. Okay, Younghoe Koo of the Atlanta Falcons, a dismal season for Koo last year, especially for his standards. He's one of the most reliable kickers in the league prior to last year, up and down with him as well. They're at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense is kind of not great on the back end. We do know it's going to be the third NFL start for quarterback Michael Penix, so essentially a rookie quarterback at the helm for them. Did get some reps, but he is like 50 years old. I think Koo's going to have a lot of opportunities in week one. The passing defense isn't great for Tampa Bay, solid run D, and they're just going to want to take points. I know Tampa Bay is a high-flying offense, but they are missing some pieces on the offensive side of the ball. So I think Koo's a fine start for week one. I just am a little bit worried. Are we seeing the decline of Koo? I need to see more consistency from him, and I'm just a little bit nervous about Koo heading into week one of the fantasy season. Okay, Josh Karty of the Los Angeles Rams, a really nice, strong finish to Karty to the end of last year, but taking on the Houston Texans in Los Angeles, indoors in a dome. You know how much I love kicking indoors, but this Texans defense is a unit out there. Those are some scary dudes at all three levels of the field, and Matt Stafford missed pretty much all of camp and offseason workouts with the bad back. I'm worried about this Rams offense. I think they could really struggle. We saw them get off to a slow start last year, injuries and whatnot, but Stafford, 40 years old almost, and he's got a bad back. It's not getting any younger for him. So if you have to play Karty, that's where I got him, because I think this is going to be a low-scoring game, and I am very concerned what we could see from this Rams offense in week one. They might really struggle to move the football, and that's something you don't want to deal with if you are playing your kicker. All right, Blake Grupe of the New Orleans Saints had a great year last year, a couple of monster weeks, but this Saints offense could be dreadful. We got Spencer Rattler at the helm. We're taking on the Cardinals. I don't know how good the Cardinals are ultimately going to be. The analytics nerds love the Cardinals defense, but I'm just going to bench him. I don't trust this Saints offense whatsoever. He is a good kicker, but I'm going to have to really see something from the Saints offense before I feel comfortable playing him at the kicker spot, because we could easily see a week where they just kick one field goal, or they get shut out, or they score a single touchdown and they lose the game, 24-7, and you're in really bad spots from your kicker. So it's not worth the risk, in my opinion, to start Grupe in week one of the fantasy season. Okay, veteran kicker Matt Gay now in Washington with the Commanders, one of the best stories in the NFL last year. Kind of an interesting matchup in week one. The New York Football Giants, the vibes are immaculate in New York, and this defensive line is really, really scary out there. We got Austin Eckler and now Bill running the show in the backfield, so that could struggle a little bit to move the football. Now, Jane Daniels, is he going to see some regression? Potentially. We know about that sophomore slump. Don't love that Terry McLaurin missed pretty much all of camp to get that new contract. Now, we did get that new contract. I'm just a little bit concerned here. I'm going to want to see it before I believe it with Matt Gay. I'm going to put him in the if you have to category. I think we could be looking at a trap game for Washington in week one. Maybe some inconsistencies on the offense. Cliff Kingsbury's going to be aggressive here, and I think they're going to maybe forego some field goal attempts to try and push the ball on fourth down. We know how much they went for it on fourth down last year. They were excellent, and I think they maybe take a step back this year, but it'll take them a few weeks before they learn that. So if you have to play Gay, go ahead, but I would try and avoid him for week one. Okay, same game, same situation. Graham Gano of the New York Giants. I'm just going to put him right here in the if you have to category. I want to see it from this Giants offense. Now, the Commanders defense isn't great, but the Giants offense is a big question mark. Jackson Dart's not starting. We got Russell Wilson, probably going to be able to run the ball. Malik Neighbors dealing with a foot injury, a back injury. It feels like everything. I'm just not going to trust this Giants team with Russell Wilson right away. It's another, I want to see it before I can commit to it. There are much better kicking options out there, and it's a little bit too risky for my blood in week one. But if you're loving the Giants, you buy into the mojo. The Commanders defense could be a little bit vulnerable. So if you want to start them, go ahead, do it at your own risk, but a little too scary for me. Okay, Ryan Fitzgerald of the Carolina Panthers. Look, rookie quarterback, a Panthers team that, I think there's good momentum with this offense, but they have no wide receivers now that they've traded Adam Thielen. They got injuries across the board. I do like the Panthers potentially for the season, but week 1 at Jacksonville, I think this Jags defense is actually going to be pretty decent out there. I'm just not willing to play a rookie like this in week 1 for fantasy. Too risky, too scary of a team. Potentially later down the road, but for right now, Fitzgerald, bench him. Do not take that risk. Okay, Nick Folk now on the New York Jets, and Jets kickers are just like super scary to me. And also, they're taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers might be the best defense in football this year, and the Jets offense, Justin Fields, could be one of the worst offenses. There could be some upside, there could be some explosive plays, but I'm not taking this risk in week 1 against the Steelers defense that is an absolute unit. Now, revenge game, Justin Fields against the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers against the Jets. Not sure what we're going to see, but I think it's going to be a super low scoring game, and I just do not think there are going to be any opportunities for Nick Folk this week with the Jets. And as stable as a veteran he's been, there's something about kicking for the New York Jets that make you just become terrible. So I'm going to avoid this week 1. Okay, Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills, pretty solid and reliable kicker overall, but like I said, a really tough matchup week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens. A good defense, a high-flying offense on both teams. I just say if you have to, Tyler Bass, going to be a solid kicker for the year. The Bills score a ton of points. Now, later in the year, it's not the best place to kick in Buffalo with the win. Once they get the new stadium, things are going to be a lot nicer. I'll tell you that for our Bills kickers. But in a game like this, I just think there's going to be a lot of 4th down attempts. Not a whole lot of field goals. Teams are going for 7. So I would avoid Tyler Bass for week 1, but I think he's a more than solid kicker for the NFL season. Okay, Jake the Snake Elliott for the Eagles on Thursday, opening up the NFL season against the Dallas Cowboys, and I love this matchup. The Cowboys defense is absolutely atrocious. I think the Eagles are going to score a ton of points in week 1. It's going to be great fantasy bonanzas for us. And you know what? They may not be super aggro, knowing that the Cowboys, just really aren't that good overall. Maybe the offense will have to carry them in Dallas, but I think they're not going to be super aggro. They'll take their field goals. It is week 1 after all. Get their points, make the Cowboys beat them, and if they have to get a stop, they know the Cowboys can't. So I think they play a little bit conservative here in week 1, coming off their Super Bowl victory, and Jake Elliott is as solid of a veteran as it gets. It's a great matchup week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, he's Dicker, and he's a kicker. Cam Dicker, one of the best kickers in the NFL last season, taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. I would really, really like to put Cam Dicker in the love matchup, but I'm going to have to put him in the fine to start. He's going to be one of the best kickers in the NFL this season, but I just do not trust the grass in Brazil. That field was a disaster last year in Sao Paulo. They're playing again on Friday. It's a weird matchup. Chiefs have a very good defense. We know they're missing pieces on the offensive line in LA. There could be ample opportunities, but I could see Dicker struggling from distance, trying to deal with his planting. I'm just worried about that field more than anything. If you want to start Dicker, take that risk. Go right ahead. He is one of the best kickers in the NFL. I'm just pretty scared. Don't have a super high expectation for Cameron Dicker in week 1. Thanks to that crappy field down in Brazil. Okay, Daniel Carlson of the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the New England Patriots. And you know what? I just don't know what I'm going to get out of this matchup, this game. New team pretty much in New England and a new team in Vegas. I do like their offense, but Daniel Carlson is just a way too inconsistent kicker for me. Outside in New England, not great kicking conditions. I mean, we saw him miss a game-winning kick in the preseason that would have, won the game. They ended up tying because he shanked a pretty makeable kick. So I just really don't trust Daniel Carlson. But I do think the Raiders are going to be able to move the football with this new offense, and Pete Carroll will kick field goals instead of going for it on 4th down. So there might be some opportunities, but Carlson is a little too shaky for me here in fantasy football. Okay, Chris Boswell of the Pittsburgh Steelers had a great year last year, coming off his best season as a pro, despite his veteran status in this league. Normally you don't see that when you get up there and kicking. In New York, Jets, MetLife, not a great place to kick. Jets defense is still going to be good. Aaron Glenn is also a good defensive coordinator, if anything. So I think this is going to be a rock fight. I think this is a fine start. Not the best situation overall as far as where we're kicking. And we just kind of have a little bit too many question marks with the Steelers offense, with Aaron Rodgers. I want to wait to see it. Boswell could be a kicker that easily rises up into the stardom every week category. But for week 1, I just want to play it a little bit safe. But if you drafted Boswell high, you think he's going to have a good year, you trust this, go ahead and start him. Just be tempering your expectations. Okay, Brandon Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys, one of the best, longest legs in the NFL, a great kicker, but there's just too many question marks for me here in week 1 with the Cowboys. I'm going to put Aubrey in the if you have to. If you love that leg, you love the upside of this Cowboys offense. Tough matchup week 1 on the road in Philly, a good Eagles defense last year, especially in the secondary now. Kind of the strong point of their defense after they lose some pieces on the D-line, and Cowboys have to throw the ball a lot, and they might have to score a lot of points, so may not see too many field goal attempts from Dallas here. But Brandon Aubrey for the season does have a lot of potential. I think the Cowboys will be able to hang a lot of points on some teams because how bad their defense is. But for right now, don't love this matchup in week 1. Okay, before we get to our final kicker, we technically don't have a kicker on the Miami Dolphins roster at the time of recording. So whoever the Dolphins end up deciding on signing before week 1, just don't play him. Just bench him. Don't even think about it. Don't even worry about it. Safe to that. But finally, Andy Borregales. I butchered that. The rookie kicker out of Miami, drafted by the New England Patriots. Drafted by them. You don't see that too often, drafting kickers here. I'm just going to put him in the if you have to category. I want to wait and see with rookie kickers. I do like, guys coming out kind of, as a drafted kicker. They tend to be pretty good if you spend a draft pick on them, but I just don't know. You just don't know. It's too risky for me. If you have to start him, if you're in a 16-team league, a deep league, there's no real kickers out there. Why not? Because I do like this Patriots offense. The Raiders defense isn't very good. I think they will move the football a good bit. So it's a big question mark. Could be a high ceiling guy if you want to roll the dice, but just way too risky for me at the kicker spot for week 1 of fantasy. You want to be able to get the most points and be the safest as possible. At least that's my approach for week 1. So that's going to do it for us today, guys. If you like this content, we got all the daily fantasy football stuff you're going to need throughout the season. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you don't miss a thing. Check out the links down below. Again, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you all tomorrow.